Thank you everyone for coming. Sorry for the short notice. I just left my clinic because I think 10 days ago, so that's why I'm a little bit rushed. My name is Constance. Probably a lot of you who use Envoy don't know me, but I've actually been working on Envoy since June of 2016. I've just mostly been working on Lyft Migration with Envoy and doing a lot of the slog work of some of the stuff we'll be talking about today. And so that is my Twitter handle, but if I don't reply, it's because I just made a Twitter account 2 days ago, so I'm still learning how to use it. And I guess a little bit more about the other features in terms of like what I've done on Envoy is I've been working on network security, so I'm currently working on the IP tagging filter. I've done a lot of work in terms of router, other HTTP filters, a lot of the V1 configs, and part of the V2 APIs. So about me. Pretty much, if you haven't heard this before, Envoy is meant to make networking easy for anyone around, right? I mean, and for anyone who's using it, and especially for application developers who don't want to know about networking, because I don't know about you, but I definitely interact daily with application developers who are intimidated by it. So this is a tool to make it as transparent as possible. A quick refresher of service mesh. As you can see, Envoy's running sidecar. Oh, yes, and also one thing about this talk, I'm going to be doing a little bit of hybrid of Matt's migration talk from KubeCon. So if you want more details, please watch his talk. I'm also going to be talking a little bit about what we're doing as our next infrastructure improvement, which I think you guys can probably guess is Kubernetes related. So another set of Envoy refresher, these are some of our really awesome features. It's not a library, so it runs beside whatever service you want it to. C++, which I think is a great thing. Not everyone agrees with me on that. Observability is one of the other big pluses that we have. One thing that we didn't actually add here is a whole set of APIs to configure Envoy. So this was this was Lyft 5-ish years ago, probably 6 years now. It was really simple. PHP was our monolith. It communicated with Mongo. And so this is how things look now. Is that we actually still have that monolith, which is PHP. Then we have a whole set of Go services, Python services. We're actually starting to have a lot of other services like Java and other things that aren't fall under here, and they talk to all different things: stats, DynamoDB, Mongo, Envoy Manager, which is something we'll be talking about a little bit later. So just.
Can you speak a little bit closer because
Sure.
we have people.
Oh yeah, sorry, I do speak quietly. So, so a little bit of how this is going to be just a really short version of Matt's talk, but how did we go from what we had there to what is this, right? And it's a lot of coordination and making incremental progress and identifying one problem at a time. So this is the TLDR of it, right? We first started on Edge. We improved that. Everything was done with a lot of visibility, making sure that we didn't lose traffic from shadowing. We worked on the TCP proxy and Mongo connections because I was especially focusing on the monolith we had at the time. And so some features that we added were rate limiting to Mongo connections to avoid death spiral. We added better stats around Mongo. And at this point, Envoy is everywhere because we only had that. So once we started adding new services, we started making Envoy the sidecar to everything. But we ended up actually in a really interesting spot where we would have Edge Envoy, an internal ELB, Mesh Envoy, and services. And we really wanted to get to a point where it had direct connect and no ELB between the Edge Envoy and Mesh Envoy. And so this is actually where the use of service discovery, we call it discovery service, original name, I know. But this is where discovery service came in. So we can get rid of the ELB in the middle. And this is how it works, is that there's a cron job running on everything that is using Envoy, and it registers actually some entries to DynamoDB, and Discovery Service reads that and sends that to the envoys using the SDS API, which is a V1 API. Now this is, and so once again, this is how things look like. And that kind of makes things simpler going forward because now we don't have to, we don't have ELBs, envoys everywhere. As Matt has said before in other talks, that we have observability across the entire stack. Since Envoy is running there, all of our key metrics and alarms are based off of Envoy's statistics. You can tell if your entire system's down based on success rate, then quickly with 2 clicks find out like, oh, it's, routing, or like, sorry, I used the name, location service is having a bad time and we should focus on remediating that. So, one of the hard parts that we've been working through improving is actually the configuration of Envoy. The first iteration of it was actually using JSON YAML, and we would have a static file committed that had over 10,000 entries in JSON. We're very close to deleting it, only actually 1 week away from deleting the legacy one, but as you can imagine, it actually got really complicated really, really quickly. It also meant that people had to manage it. We were unfortunately the team that had to manage it, so we would have to do deploys every time someone added a new service, or wanted to, someone put a bad route on the Edge proxy, we would have to do another quick deploy of 2 hours just to get that out there. And so we actually did separate things between Edge and service, as we call mesh. One way that things got updated, so we have a little bit of like legacy, actually this is something we're going to be improving with Kubernetes, is a lot of things got updated based on pull deploy. Pull deploy would check what SHA the service was running. Is it running old version of Envoy? Is it running old SHA of the service? And update that and force the update path. So in our world, we have 1 service per host, 1 Envoy per service, and 1 Envoy per host. And we use hot restarts every time we would say update Envoy or update a service. So to make things a little better, we came up with this thing called config-gen. And this is actually a way of templatizing all the different configs that we need to configure all the different services. For a point of reference, we have over 10,000 hosts running with over 200 services right now running at Lyft. I think I heard a little bit of awe at that. It is a little crazy, and it's getting worse with time, or better with time, which is something we're working to improve. So for now, we just have a lot of Jinja files that expand all of the templates that we need to configure Envoy across the fleet. Yeah.
Where are you guys running your workloads? Which cloud provider? If it's not secure.
It's AWS. We're on AWS. Yeah. Well, they're in Seattle, so that's convenient. Yeah.
Curious, what's the purpose of having a DynamoDB? You aren't just duplicating what you had in Mongo, or are you doing a transition to DynamoDB? What exactly?
Oh, for the discovery service entry? That data was actually never put nowhere beforehand. So the ELB would handle all the IPs that are handling. So that, yeah. And we are trying to we prefer working with DynamoDB.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will Mongo still have a base in it?
Yep. Yeah, I think as much as we try to get rid of our monolith, it'll probably be there for a long time. And there's actually still active development on the Mongo filter that provides all the statistics and everything that I was talking about. Yeah, so this is a way to make our Envoy configurations better. We have templates. We have ways for people to specify adding new routes, adding new services. So it's a kind of combination of static and dynamic configuration. And by dynamic configuration, it's not as dynamic as like a service providing a response and API. It's actually a checked-in file that will take in inputs when the service is actually being spun up. So it's pseudo-dynamic, and that's one thing we're working on solving right now. And one way to solve it is actually with our control plane APIs. We have two versions of these APIs. We have V1, which are just JSON REST APIs, and they handle service discovery, clusters, routes, and we use these internally. We actually serve all of these via Envoy Manager, which I'll be talking about next. And this is actually a way to provide, so if someone wants to change a route or add a new cluster, or you need to do both in parallel actually, this will actually be able to provide those new endpoints quickly instead of having to deploy, which is very important. Yeah?
Which cluster? It's not Kubernetes cluster.
No, sorry, these are our terminology. Also, I apologize in advance. I always get our references, like I'll say instance instead of a pod when I refer to Kubernetes. I'm still learning. Actually, I probably should have attended your talks from a long time because I still know very little about Kubernetes. Since we're only starting to adopt it now. But this is the world that we have right now, is that Envoy Manager handles all the APIs that Envoy understands, and it pulls data from everywhere. It pulls data from S3, where we have a static config repository, service manifest in our world are pretty much lists who you want to talk to, any special configuration for Envoy, and that gets processed to be able to handle our RDS, LDS, CDS APIs. So talking a bit more about Envoy Manager. Envoy Manager is ready to go. It serves, we're moving towards adopting our V2 APIs. The great thing about these V2 APIs is that they're defined in proto, so we no longer have to do any checking if the format is correct, avoiding a lot of fat finger mistakes. We're already using it on front Envoy, our edge proxy. So when I was making a reference to our deploys earlier, one of our biggest developer pain point that we're trying to fix internally is that our team controls a lot of the configuration. We control when a new service gets added, a new route has to get added, and for the size that we're at, like referencing the 200 or plus services we have, it's no longer scalable. We can't do a deploy every 10 minutes or every 3 or 4 days a week. So we had to actually come up with something to update routes on the fly. And so Envoy Manager serves these APIs to the envoys running everywhere. And that way this allows developers to change routes within actually 20 minutes in case someone said put v2 something and then it ends up 4.4 and we can fix that quickly instead of having to wake someone up from our team and do a deploy in the middle of the night. To that point, the next thing that we're working on unblocking is new service spin-up time. Just based on the way that we make our configurations, we won't allow people to specify, for better or for worse, a cluster or like a service that hasn't been properly vetted. By properly vetted is that we maintain a whitelist of services that we can route to. So we actually, and like that is once again controlled by a current deployment process. So we need to actually serve these faster. So Envoy Manager is working on serving RDS and CDS for all the sidecar envoys going through. And then we have future plans. By future plans, it's probably the next few months that Envoy Manager is going to support LDS and other V2 APIs just to, for like the IP tagging filter I referenced earlier, we can start actually updating IP tags on the fly, and then you'll be able to say block a whole subnet on the fly, and then have to reduce that traffic, stop that traffic from coming inside to your infrastructure. So, surprise, what is next for Lyft infrastructure? We're moving into Kubernetes, and we're really excited. And we're in the proof of concept stage. I'll get to this. So we have a lot of custom provisioning and deployment tools that we've grown or we've created ourselves over the past few years. And we know there are better things out there, and there's also a lot of things made in the industry by people who care, who do it properly. So we want to utilize those open source projects. We actually have a very limited deployment operation right now. We have staging, we have one canary instance per server, and then you have production. There is no safe way for us to do incremental rollouts, testing, other than say services hacking something up internally. So we need to start addressing this, especially for our size. As we also grow bigger and, example for autonomous, we're actually to start having better data science workflows, and that's going to blend itself to smaller microservices and reducing the amount of cost that it takes for them to spin up a new microservice and take that down. And Kubernetes will help us a lot with that. We also are in a little bit of a weird limbo state where our development environment is actually running Docker containers with, is actually very different from a production environment. Where our production environment, it takes an instance and after does all our salt and all our setting things up. But our development environment is running on containers and runs out within it. So we need to unify that. So, back when we brought up the containers, Kubernetes wasn't that big of a thing then, so that's why it didn't happen earlier. Yeah, so we're going to do this migration really incrementally. We're doing a proof of concept right now, so we're going to migrate two of our test services. It's called PyExample 2 and GoExample 2, very original names. And we need to have the goal in mind that we're supporting a hybrid environment. And by hybrid environment is that we're going to be having most of our services at the start running in the old deployment system. And then after slowly migrate one service at a time in the new. And so we're going to have to find a way, the big thing that I care about is going to be routing between these services. No service is going to should have to differentiate oh, this is a service running Kubernetes, apply a different routing rule, use a different variation of Envoy client. And then other points is definitely developers not changing the workflow. To my earlier point that we have a lot of custom tooling, we have already existing flow in terms of development, testing, and we are going to make that seamless. we're working to make that seamless to everyone else. So when they click a button to deploy, that is still the same thing. And underneath, we'll be doing a lot of changes to abstract that away. A lot of this is following the infrastructure team, and I'm going to be focusing on the routing part, partially because I don't want to steal my coworkers' KubeCon presentations for the end of the year. And it also flows nicely with the configs I was talking about later on, or earlier. So right, to make routing work in this hybrid world, currently we have SDS API, and it's serviced by the Discovery, and that handles the V1 configs. Sorry, the V1 APIs that Envoy handles. And this already knows about the legacy host, so it's already a great candidate to add the new Kubernetes pod information. However, SDS is actually V1, and V2, the new iteration of the SDS APIs is EDS. It's a little bit of a hand wavy saying it, but EDS is actually a lot more richer of an API. It provides opportunities to specify better load balancing configurations. So you pretty much, instead of having SDS returns a set of host, and the load balancing that you specify for that cluster is going to apply uniformly across everything. But once you move to EDS, it's called Endpoint Discovery Service, stuff like that. You're actually able to specify different load balancing on different multi-sets within that host. So then that can actually work for different rollouts and deployments. One thing to point out is actually Kelsey Hightower did a little proof of concept. Actually, it's really nice piece of code for taking Kubernetes pod information and returning that in the SDS format. So I suggest looking at that if you want to stay with V1 configs. But we're going to go with option 2, which has Envoy Manager speak EDS and clobber both legacy and Kubernetes information in one. So what I was saying earlier, right, it's more powerful, provides better load balancing options and routing information. We also, this is part of our migration forward, we're trying to deprecate some older stuff, and so Discovery Service has served us really well as we've gone from no Discovery Service and ELBs to where we are now. But let's only have one service that handles Envoy APIs, and so that'll be Envoy Manager. And this is how it's going to look going forward. It's something that we'll be implementing in the next few weeks, where Envoy Manager is going to consume some data from Endpoint Manager, which is going to take the Kubernetes API server data information about the Kubernetes pods and also clobber that together with the legacy service information. And so this actually is going to be really nice too, because then you can have, as you're doing rollouts of Kubernetes, you can actually have a service that has part of it in our legacy system and part of it in the Kubernetes world as we're deploying this through. But I will going to say, this is all I'm going to talk about for now. This is stuff I'm mostly focused on, and yeah, it's one part of the many things that we're working on to migrate to Kubernetes, and there's a lot more to come. And yeah.
All right. Wow. This is so advanced that I don't know, half of the things I didn't understand.
Oh, sorry. That's the question. I know I have bias in terms of you see it every day.
But I think definitely this is a good time for questions, and I have my questions first. My questions first, and then.
Where you place Salt during the migration? Do you continue to use Salt in your Kubernetes stack to maybe have a single endpoint for both stack?
I think since we're still in proof of concept stage, last I heard, I think we're trying to reduce our amount of salt that we use. But I think that'll still be something we're going to figure out as we go through and learn all the mistakes we're going to make as we do it. But yeah, we do want to reduce a little bit of the salt we have. And another reason why we want to move to Kubernetes is not be running salt on production, right? So at least we have some predictability about what our production images will look like instead of, because we have had epilogues where people have put a different variation in production and we led to unexpected behavior, so we want to catch that earlier and move that variability. So I'm going to say reduce as much salt as we can, but we still appreciate it.
I read in your blog that you use salt a lot, and since last year a guy who posts a lot of blog posts about salt.
Yeah.
Is excited about this.
Yeah.
Then that's why I try to understand if you really want to use salt in Kubernetes. In your Kubernetes orchestration, because you must still manage AWS assets,
Yeah.
and it's not all managed by Kubernetes.
Yeah, I think we're gonna make another variation of a hybrid world, and we'll see how it goes. Like when I say proof of concept, we are still like we've had things running as of like maybe 2 months ago, some variation of proof of concept, so we don't have full routing between services. So this is very much the early stage. The next variation of this talk will be all the mistakes we've made as we were going to Kubernetes, and all the assumptions we had made are incredibly wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, I have kind of confusion. So
Yeah.
Envoy will replacing proxy in order to handle all the load balancing, routing, or how Envoy will handle this, how this will be handling in the routing level, networking level.
I don't think we haven't made it. Let me get back to you on that one, because I think we're still deciding how we want it, like where we want to put Envoy and everything. Like we do want to maintain our sidecar model. Let me think of a better answer.
The Q-proxy potential is still going to be there.
Yeah.
So the Envoy is pretty much is going to run in 2 places. It's going to be running with containers as a sidecar,
Yeah.
and also on the edge, it's going to be something ingress as well, like with proxy.
Like a load balancer or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it should communicate with proxy somehow in order to route the traffic or
Yeah, no, Q-proxy is still going to be there, but the Envoy is going to like pretty much work as a sidecar inside of with each pod.
As its own
And
container,
if, you know, if you're familiar with ingress controllers like Nginx, this is going to probably replace those two.
We're still really defining what this looks like. So we can identify.
But the good thing as well, like about Envoy, and I think like we have a lot of new people as well about Envoy, is that you can run Envoy inside of the Kubernetes as a service sidecar, but you can also run on the VM with your microservices that's there. So you can kind of bridge the wall between legacy applications and containers and run them homogeneously inside the same environment, or if you have even hybrid cloud use cases where you have something running on-prem and something running in the cloud, you can also bridge this together by using secure TLS communication. So your traffic will be still kind of going back and forth between legacy, let's say, running on-prem, and let's say in their case on Amazon, securely.
So, forgive me for asking you
Yeah.
to address this, but so completely at the edge, are you still using Amazon's load balancer, or do you have outside traffic hitting Envoy directly?
We have outside traffic hitting on
Okay.
directly.
How's that set up exactly?
What do you mean by how it's set up?
Do you route it directly to that?
Yes,
Is
we
that-
have like a CNAME like
Okay.
in place, and if it goes straight to front on, sorry, I'll just say that slower. We have a CNAME in place, we have that, and then it goes directly to front Envoy, and we handle there. There are, actually, sorry, no, I take that back. We have an ELB, no, we do have an ELB in front of front Envoy, yeah, we do.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we do.
You need to,
Yes, we still have
I guess,
yeah.
expose somehow.
Yeah, I know. Well, I guess there might be a way. I'm not familiar enough with Envoy, so.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we do have, sorry, we do have the ELBs in front of front Envoy, and those go there, and then everything else there.
Thank you.
Right. There was a question, I think, right there, yeah.
So 2 questions.
Yeah.
The first one is like, so the plan for the migration is still to use Envoy or no
Still
plans
use
to
Envoy.
use Istio?
We work closely with Istio. I think we're definitely at a point where we want to make as much progress as we can quickly. And since we already have Envoy in place and we already have a lot of stuff that Istio provided, the migration to that will be a lot. So right now we're working on Kubernetes, and then once we have a good story for that, we might assess that, but I don't really know what the official plan is. But we definitely, we are staying with Envoy for sure.
Okay, for
Yeah.
the question related to the Mongo filter,
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, does that thing support an endpoint, a Mongo cluster with SSH enable, or it has to be the Mongo clear text protocol?
Say that again?
So if I have a Mongo cluster with SSH enabled, will it work for the monitoring intersection of the traffic, or does Mongo needs to be running with in his plain mode?
I'm pretty sure we support us. I need to double check that. I need to look at the configuration for it, but I'm pretty sure we have that.
Okay.
So we can look at the config afterwards and I'll
All right.
work on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hard questions.
Like we don't tweak the Mongo filter as much anymore because it's been so stable. So that was a good curveball.
So we actually have fewer people here that don't want to tell, but like they actually right now in between Istio and Envoy.
Yeah.
Which one they should use?
Well, I'm
Today.
biased.
Today.
I am biased. What can I
Today.
say?
Like because I mean Istio is like everything in alpha except
Yeah.
maybe monitoring.
The SEO people are wonderful. We work with them really closely, and they're really brilliant. I think you have to make, you need to make the assessment for yourself. I will say use Envoy, but also SEO has a lot of good options there. Whatever solution you're trying, like whatever problem you're trying to solve first, choose that first. Like address that first, and then after go to the next one. So if SEO solves some problem you're trying to figure out in the next few months, year, go down that path. Yeah, I can't.
Are you going to open source any other tools that you're using? Like I don't know.
Envoy
How
management.
to use Envoy? I mean, like there's still like how to do, let's say, canary deployments, controlled canary deployments, how to do like all those things. You probably figure out you have some nice UIs, maybe. I don't know.
We do not have nice UIs. We're working on it. We have made the joke that every time we try and hire some form of front-end developer, the rest of Lyft steals them from us. So we want those UIs. Yeah, we wish. But other than right now, everything's like in the file.
Also want something.
Are you also working with Hectio, which is with building the control project, which provides an Envoy as an ingress controller for Kubernetes?
Maybe. So the one reason why I say maybe is because I'm trying to, like, I associate people by names. And so, like, since I've talked to Shurem and some people enough, I know they're working with you. I would have to check, a little check. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, well, just you know, in the Lyft, there's definitely different people working on different positions. There's some people more like working internally, like Constance, for example. But right now, Envoy is part of CNCF, right? So Heptio, as you said, they're delivering a new ingress controller called Contour, and the idea is replace Nginx controller as an ingress, basically, and have the Envoy potentially the standard ingress controller for Kubernetes. The idea is you wanna have everything sidecars with Envoy, and you want to ingress with Envoy, so you have like everything in Envoy at the end of the day. And because I think the main benefits versus other solutions like Proxy or Nginx, first of all, or Linkerd, for example, Envoy is lightweight, written in C++, and also pretty much like Nginx has a interest about their project to have Nginx Plus. Like Lyft is not planning to commercialize the Envoy project, right? So they're using it themselves and they donated to CNCF. So right now it's pretty much a community's project and everybody can contribute to it. So we'll see.
Hi, Constance. What drivers, or not drivers, but how did you decide how to approach the migration to deploy on Kubernetes? Like, was it simplicity? Was it what features you needed to you wanted to deploy before the others? Was it you drew something from a hat?
I will probably not do this answer justice. And to like Paul and Jan, who are probably watching, they're probably giggling right now with their laptops. I think we've always wanted to have some variation of container world, and I'm gonna think about this one. I don't know how to answer that. I might have to like ask them. They did the biggest choice.
Like for example, how you guys do auto scaling? Is it something
Oh.
you guys interested about or?
We do auto scaling with Amazon based off of like, like CPU or we use Amazon for a lot of that. We're just starting to get at a point where a lot of our tools need to actually, improving them to reach our scale is sometimes becoming too much, requires a lot more dev time than being able to do something else. Like we're kind of at this right point where we should probably go for industry standard instead of having all this homegrown.
I was more asking like what, in terms of priority, which functionality or which services you decided to migrate first?
Services, we're still doing our dummy services. Are you talking about our services
Yeah.
or we're still doing? So we actually are using. Well, I don't think we're doing the proof of concept with some of our simple services just to make sure everything works and trying to figure out the kinks. And then after, we're gonna probably start addressing. We're gonna find other services. Like there are some people who are eager to move to it, and we're gonna use them first as shepherd. So that we're just kind of going for anyone who wants to work with us in terms of migrating over. So not a good answer, but it's something we want to get everyone towards.
All right, thanks, Constance. There's more questions.
Yeah.
Maybe we can take it because we want a second presenter
Yeah.
prepare, but like let's have a conversation.